morning, and thanks to be here. It's great to see actually so many people to come to talk about chords and to understand what we're doing, and it's been a great journey. I think. I mean, Tom said it well. I think we've seen a tremendous growth in support for chord over the last year, a tremendous amount of development that has been done. And I think that I probably echo my other partners, network operators, in saying that we believe that chord is one of the technologies that will help us as an industry get to the next level, deploy 5G in cost-effective way, and provide us with the flexibility we need to be able to provide the services that you need. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being interested and for collaborating on chord. A quick housekeeping thing. We're voting at ONF this week and next week and the week after for the board, and Telefonica is looking forward to actually present a candidate at the board. So just a reminder for those of you who are part of the ONF and voting, please go and vote. What are we doing? What are we doing at chord? What are we doing at Telefonica with chord? Well, we have a project called On Life Networks. And On Life Network is our deployment of chord. It's part of Telefonica Innovation Group. And basically, the purpose of the group is to find out what are the benefits of having a programmable network if you know how to program, which is a little counter to what we've seen in the industry, in the sense that, well, you know, us large network operators to be very good at buying technology, buying services, and having large deploying them for us and operating them for us. We think that there is a need for that, and that will continue over time, but that might not be sufficient for us network operators to be able to grow, to be able to compete, and to be able to bring you the services that you need. Naturally, the edge of our network is, let's say, the part where things are more fuzzy or will get more fuzzy. With 5G, with mobile and fixed convergence, with also new technologies and new platforms that are being deployed, we're seeing that the edge is going to be a territory where there's going to be a lot of movement, there's going to be a lot of potential, and it's important for us to understand what's the best way, well, to provide our basic services of connectivity, knowing that the edge can be programmable, and to understand also the best way for us to collaborate with third parties. So we started about a little bit more than a year ago this exercise of understanding what is the edge, what are the edges, because we found out there are many edges to our network, many different types of edges, and how to create a fabric that is programmable. And almost immediately, the team from the outset said, well, basically, you know, if we abstract all the work and all the technology that we have had so far in our networks, if we were to build a network from scratch tomorrow for residential customers, for business customers, for our mobile customers, realistically, we wouldn't have a different transport network, a different backhaul, a different access technology for all these different customers. I mean, we would have different access, because you would have different edges and different use cases, but it wouldn't be defined by residential, B2B, and mobile. Really, particularly with IPv6, there's no reason not to have a single transport capability and a single computing capability across all our networks. And then, beyond that edge, this is where we can separate the access and have a mobile, a fixed, and a B2B offering. But if the transport is the same and you have a capacity to compute right there at that edge, and you can provide services across all these different segments, maybe there's something interesting there. The other thing that came across, and that's more recent, is providing good connectivity services is not going to be sufficient. Providing high capacity network, high availability, scalability, I mean, that's what we've been doing for the last 20 years, and we'll continue doing that. But I mean, that's not why people are going to select us as a network operator in the future. So it emerged that maybe instead of creating a connectivity service that is basically the same for everybody, where the mobile service is basically the same for you and for you and for you, and the only difference is how much you pay because it's how much you consume. Even though, I mean, the way you use your voice services is very different from my mother and my grandmother. Well, maybe there are different ways to create services or to propose services. And you know, we are mostly in mature markets, in emerging markets as well. But in our mature markets, certainly the way to differentiate would be to offer personalized services. And you know that as an industry, us network operators, if a service doesn't apply to 20 million people, we're not going to do it because it's expensive, it is long, it is complicated to launch a new service, even to modify an existing service, because networks are very complex. And a lot of that complexity is inherited from the past. And if we have an opportunity to build a network from scratch, well, actually, we can abstract a lot of that complexity and remove a lot of that complexity. So we're trying to explore what providing distinct experiences and personalized services would look like for a network. So what that looks like at the scale of a central office is, well, basically, we took to heart the core principles, and we're starting building a platform that aspirationally would be a single platform for all our services. Our mobile, our residential, and our B2B services. And trying to explore whether it's possible first, because, you know, well, there's a reason that we have different flavors of cord today. And we didn't know whether these reasons were because it was easier to digest as an industry, or whether realistically, technologically, there are barriers to provide a single platform that would be able to do different type of services, different type of access, different type of backhaul. So we started exploring that, and very quickly, well, we deployed or we created an architecture built on, you know, a spine leaf architecture that would ideally provide, at the minimum, a residential and a B2B user with an experience of all our services at Telefonica, all our basic services. So our voice services, fixed voice services, our video services, TV, and the internet, obviously, as well as many services that we could do in B2B, such as VPN and firewall and all these kind of things, and see whether, bless you, they could coexist in that platform, whether it would scale, it would work, and whether it was desirable. The second principle that we took is we're going to try to do as much as possible by ourselves. Because first, we're lucky in the team to have developers, data scientists, UX designers, and because we're operating like a startup, we're on a budget. So we don't write an RFP and invite 20 vendors and spend 12 months evaluating what we're going to do. No, we take as much open source technology as we can and see what is the gap between functional needs and commercial deployability. This platform here, this diagram, that started about a year ago. Well, we superimposed a software architecture that is based on many of the ONOS tools. We're using, obviously, all the SDN management. We are also using an open source based virtualization layer. And we started implementing virtual functions. Some of them are open source. Some of them are things that we developed ourselves. And some of them are commercial products that we deployed there to see whether they would work, how they would work, and basically whether this platform could evolve to be a commercial platform that could host commercial products. And 9 months later, we ended up having that platform deployed. This platform, based on OCP, based on OpenRack, in a GPON environment, with the natural minus 48 volt conversion included, integrated, is deployed in one of our central offices. And I guess what's remarkable is that in the next weeks or months, we're actually going to connect real customers from Telefonica to that platform. And we hope that will be one of the first, end-to-end deployment of Chord in a commercial situation, because it's going to be a commercial trial. A commercial trial where we're going to have all our services, all our Telefonica Classic services, so the same services that people are using connecting to our centrals. Well, they're going to use them, unbeknownst to them, connecting to that platform. So we're transitioning from a trial, a lab trial, to a commercial trial where we're deploying that platform in an environment. The platform is integrated, and we think that within the next few weeks, we're connecting the first real customers to it to measure the impact. And well, the use cases, what are they? What are we going to do? We mentioned the services of Telefonica. What we have measured so far in our central is that not only we can provide services with quite a low latency, but we can provide services with a guaranteed latency. And I think that that's quite an improvement, because realistically, the fact that the latency is 4 milliseconds or 3 or 10, well, obviously it's function of distance. But the most important part is that the people are developing applications that could rely on low latency, virtual, augmented, mixed reality, autonomous car, Industry 4.0. Time and again, when we talk to them, it's not so much low latency that they need. It's guaranteed latency. It's an SLA. They need to be able to program their platform with an expectation in terms of what the latency is going to be, with very low variation, so that all the systems that are within that platform can interface with each other. And obviously, I mean, latency is a big part, but the connectivity itself, the amount of data that can be provided to a user is guaranteed. And what started as a technological endeavor, more and more is morphing into a commercial endeavor. Because the real change here as well is that the customer itself can self-provision. The customer itself can select what his experience is going to be. And that customer, whether it is a consumer or a business, can for the first time say, well, I'll give you an example. For VPN, you know how, I mean, VPN is a very simple service. I mean, you're connecting two IP addresses with a secure tunnel, and also it's very simple. If you're a large company and you buy it from another large company, it can take months to deploy because, well, you know, you're going to see how to connect those platforms, those points within your systems, and you're going to have to program manually in each and every one of the boxes of your DPI, of your firewall, of your VPN server, how to connect those and make sure that every time that you do that, you're not going to break something that you've done for another client. Well, here it doesn't happen like that. Why? Because it's a microservice architecture. So that VPN client has a VPN service just for him, just for those 2 points. And for the first time, that client will be able to select, you know, I want, I don't know, 500 megabit per second between those 2 points all the time. But you know what? The first Saturday of the month, between midnight and 4 a.m., I want 10 times that because I'm doing a backup. And, well, they don't need to be a programmer. There's a web interface. They can select that experience and do it themselves. And the platform behind, well, actually has programmers that enable that use case. And you're going to tell me, well, it's not revolutionary because, I mean, it's VPN. But the point here is that you enable a new experience. You reduce the friction. And for the first time, your customer is in control of how he wants to consume your service. And I think, that when we look forward, you know, the classic response of telecoms and mobile to how to manage user experience in 5G is network slicing. And you're going to have a slice for voice, a slice for data, a slice for video. And you're going to have those 5, 6, 7 slices cohabitating. And they're going to be able to give you the quality of service you need. I don't believe that that's going to be sufficient. I think that we're going to have to create hundreds, thousands of slices if we want to create user experiences that users value. And the only way to do that is going to be through a programmable network. Another example, we're deploying CDN in a virtualized fashion in our edge because we're fortunate at Telefonica to have basically our transport, our networks, but we have our own CDN as well, and our production and our content. So there's no reason if you have all of that not to be able to provide the best user experience to your customer because you control from end to end how to do that. And being able to deploy a CDN at the very edge of our network allows, for instance, the people, or will allow, should I say, the people that are watching Barcelona, Real Madrid in live, but in unicast, to watch it without perceptible delay, which is super important because if somebody scores and you hear everybody cheering in the street 3 seconds before you see it, there's no point, right? there's a bunch of use cases, and we're just scratching the surface. There's a lot of things that we're looking at, a lot of things that we would like to do, but we're, again, operating as a startup, so we're not going to investigate everything at the same time. We're taking things one at a time and put them to the machine to see how they work, whether they work, whether there's an interest. But the interesting thing is, this is not a lab project. This is not a science project. Everything we take and we test and we deploy ends up or will end up in the hand of a client, a real person that is really using a service. And I think that that's the best way to learn. That's the best way to learn how to bridge, a technology roadmap, a brilliant idea, an architecture to how users can benefit from virtualization, from software-defined networking, and from code. We also are deploying that platform at the tip, and tomorrow starts the tip in the Valley as well. And we will be announcing our progress. We are deploying that platform at the tip, and we are collaborating with a number of network operators and a number of vendors to provide use cases, edge computing, in an OCP platform based on ONOS, based on code. The near future, well, everybody talks about personalization, or I talk a lot about personalization. I think what we need to do is to make sure that with all the data that we're collecting, with all the machine learning that we can apply to this data, there is a feedback loop to the fabric of our network. It's not good to detect that you can provide a service for gamers that are maybe like 3,000 in Spain if you can't actually create a service that can specifically address their needs. And that's not going to happen if there is this separation between data and the network. So we hope to make our network more organic and to basically apply to the network connectivity itself the learnings that we get from the data that we collect. I'll leave you with a slide that says this is where the digital changes into something real. That's what's, in our office, basically. That's what is in the central of Telefonica in Peñuelas in Madrid, where we have deployed our first core platform. I'll be around if you have questions. Thank you. Thank you.